My name is Rami. I'm originally, well, genetically Lebanese and Bulgarian, and on paper I'm also Irish, just to add a bit of complexity. And so I went to school, I studied engineering, then I did some work in the UN and Facebook, and now I'm working at Google. And so as you might have heard, there's like a tripod pillar of my existence in Google. My main job is basically to work with game and app developers like you guys and help them figure out the best monetization strategies and make more money and get growth to their business. And then the two other pillars are, well, I teach yoga and mindfulness for other Googlers because as you can imagine, sometimes life can get in the way of living. And the third pillar is I work kind of 20% of my time is spent doing virtual reality and augmented reality partnerships, which is a really exciting early kind of technology that Google and some other players are part of, and I'd like to be part of this technology and figure out how we grow in EMEA, basically. But for today, we're going to talk about monetization. But in case you have questions about yoga or VR, you can also grab me outside later on. So, what we're gonna talk about today, I'm gonna discuss two interesting findings, which might seem trivial for some of you well along in the business, but that we find really important in Google. And then I'm gonna go through some of the newest features and updates that we have brought into whether the formats or the platform that we have as Google, and then show you what's coming in the next few months as well. So the statistic basically proves that we see, at least on the AdMob side or in Google, on Google Play, that a big majority of apps are basically global, right? So I know a friend of mine who developed a game in Lebanon, and his biggest user base is in Brazil, and that game is Pooh. Anybody knows Pooh? I think 1 in 4 people in Spain have Pooh. Yeah. It's a kind of Tamagotchi style game. But basically in the apps world, as you might imagine, it's a global world. So regardless of where you are located, you have to really think globally. So even though you might have sometimes you can have some local insights to bring into some gameplay, for example, you really think from a user perspective, that you're building for the whole world. So even when you target, for example, when you start acquiring users for your app, you have to think that you're acquiring users from all over the world. So keep that in mind when you think of either localizing or making the content relevant for everyone around the world. And with this, coupled with this metric, we also see that the hybrid models are basically growing. So in the past year, we've seen more than 50% of the new games basically adopting the hybrid or the freemium model. So traditionally, there might be some myths that the in-app purchase model or premium models are the best way to go. But the numbers say that there's more and more apps coming into the market that are adopting the freemium model. And that means using in-app purchases and also ad monetization, right? And in Google, we know that as app developers, you guys want to do what you do best, right? You want to build good games and good apps. And our ethos is basically that we want to build the best products that help you get some time out of thinking of, okay, I need to focus on ad monetization. So I want to do all the work for you and build the best products and platforms so you can have more time to build your own games and apps. And now we're going to talk about the updates of some of the formats that we have from Google and why we think they're important. So even though banners and interstitials, for example, might seem really old school and old fashioned, but the numbers also say that there's a big majority of the revenue of developers adopting the freemium model that's still coming from banners and interstitials. So as trivial as they might seem or sound, they're still bringing in a lot of the revenue that's powering a lot of the content that you guys are building. And the newest addition to that is that we basically enabled video demand from the back end to power your banners and interstitials. So there's more and more video, meaning more and more CPMs are coming to these formats. And next up, we're talking about native ads. So for those of you who think banners look too unattractive, then we give you the power to customize your ads by building native ads. So native ads, if some of you don't know, Basically, you choose whatever elements of the ad you want, and then with a click of a button, you assemble them. It's kind of like transformers, and you have a native ad that's more customized to the look and feel of your app, right? And to add to that, we also enabled video demand into these native ads. And one pro tip is that we recently updated the policy that even if you don't use any image or video in your native ad, we still highly recommend that you implement media view, which is kind of the asset holder of images and videos, because that's now a requirement actually. And once you're ready to integrate kind of image or video content, then you already have it in the code, so you don't have to do any updates. Now, the last format that we'll talk about before some other features is rewarded ads. So for a lot of you in this room, maybe you might know that rewarded ads are really the sexiest new format. And there is kind of true based on the numbers. We see that there's a big growth in rewarded ads and the revenue coming from rewarded ads. And the really cool thing about rewarded ads is that it's very directly showing you the value exchange that users are getting from the ad, right? So for you guys as developers, you know that banners and interstitials are giving you the money to build the games and provide the content for the people. But as a user, I might not see that value exchange so directly, right? But with a rewarded ad, I can watch a video and I can immediately get additional lives, extra coins, and extend my session time playing your game. So the value exchange is really in the user's face, right? So that's why they're really attractive nowadays. And one thing that's really important for rewarded ads is once you basically are able to extend the session time of each users, then you're able to make more money of your other ad formats that you have throughout your game. And there's a few new also features that we added into rewarded ads. And that is rewarded playables. So that's all included in the AdMob demand that you can see. So rewarded playables is basically kind of gives you a taste of the game before you download. So in the rewarded ad, you can actually try to play the game for a very few seconds. And then this gives you a higher kind of conversion rate as an advertiser, and then gives you better CPMs as a publisher or a developer. So rewarded playables is one. And the other feature is basically multiple options. So not only do you provide the user with the option to watch one video and gain something in return, we also give them the option to choose which video to watch. So that even improves the user experience, improves the CPMs for the advertisers, and all in all basically makes it a really good user experience and advertiser experience. So that's kind of basically the banners, interstitials, natives, and rewarded. So the formats that we offer and that are out there. And there's not in the slide, but there's kind of up and coming stuff that we're working on, which is on my VR, AR side of things. So we are trying, we've been testing for more than a year now, different features in augmented reality and virtual reality in terms of ad formats, right? So hopefully soon enough, you'll be hearing some betas coming out there that you guys might be able to give it a try. Now, a few added also features or updates that we have we have launched in the past few months is on the AdMob as a platform, right? So AdMob, you can use it as a network. You have all the formats that you need. And obviously on the Google side, on the AdWords side, Google is the biggest pool of advertisers in the world, right? So that is all powering your AdMob demand, basically. And then we have AdMob as a platform. So as a platform, AdMob allows you to mediate, allows you to access your reporting, allows you to do many other things, cross-promoting your apps. So one cool feature we updated this year is basically the whole UI design, redesign of AdMob using material design, and also a whole new reporting mechanism. So you can save reports, you can have new metrics in your reports. There's a lot more metrics added for rewarded videos, for example, and for mediation in case you use mediation. So all that is basically in the whole new updated front end for AdMob. And on top of reporting, which is kind of synonymous with reporting, is the connection with Firebase. So any of you is already using Firebase Analytics or some other Firebase features? Yeah. So Firebase Analytics basically has been redesigned from the ground up with the app developer in mind, right? So traditionally we had Google Analytics, which was very web focused, and now we designed Firebase for the app developer themselves, okay? And now Firebase and AdMob are more and more becoming integrated together, meaning that eventually you might end up wanting to have a really individual customized ad experience for each user, and that user segment is coming from Firebase. So you can slice your users as you like in Firebase, take that data into AdMob, and then target them with different ad formats. And that's really, really powerful, and that's the vision we see moving forward. And to add to that, we're also working on helping you guys out figuring the real LTV value or the average revenue per user that you get by combining ad revenue and store revenue. So that's also something in the works that we're working with the Firebase team on. And there's some examples of the metrics that you see on specifically on rewarded ads, for example. And one also pro tip for rewarded ads, not that I remembered it, is basically it's really important to make it very visible to the user how they can access those rewarded ads, because we've seen many app developers implementing rewarded ads and then being unhappy and not seeing any added revenue. And that's basically because the users are unable to enter that kind of stream or process of accessing the reward. So it's really important to make it really clear how the user can enter into a rewarded video and get the value exchange. And with these metrics, you can basically figure out which users are seeing the rewarded video entry point and which users are actually clicking on it and which users are finishing. And then you can keep optimizing to get the most out of it. And now for mediation. So high-level summary, you basically want to use mediation in case you want to increase your revenue and you have a lot of ads that are not being filled by a certain ad network. And then you implement mediation and add third-party networks, and then you have better fill rates and you have better CPMs. So imagine you're selling you want to sell one sandwich by the end of the day and you only have one buyer. So you're going to sell that sandwich for however that buyer is buying, right? But then if you have 5 buyers really hungry and they want the sandwich, then you can choose to give your sandwich to whoever is paying you the most for the sandwich. And that's basically kind of what mediation is. However, it is still kind of very complex. In terms of integrations, you need to add all the SDKs. There's some latency in the waterfall. And then in terms of payment, we've heard some developers are facing payment issues with some third-party networks, that there's very late payments and they're not getting their money. So, wow, there's a lot of animation in this slide. So, we're introducing open bidding. So open bidding, wow, it skipped a lot. So open bidding is basically how we see the future of mediation, right? So today you have mediation, which is, at best, is using historical data or a certain secret algorithm to predict which buyer is gonna pay the most, right? But it's still not perfect because it's still not getting the real-time bids for each and every buyer, right? So on the Google side, for example, we know the real-time value of our buyers' bids. So we can adjust in the waterfalls however we want if you're using AdMob as a mediation. However, we don't have the exact real-time values of the third-party networks. And nobody has all real-time value of all networks. And that is where the industry is heading, right? So there's a bunch of players trying to create a new space where the ad networks can bid in real time. And that's basically the best you can get because there's nothing faster than real time. Unless maybe you get into predictions and future value. But effectively, a real-time bid is the highest or is the best way to get your best bang for the buck, right? And Google is working on a solution which is now in a closed beta with a bunch of partners, and there's more coming soon, which will be announced pretty soon. And with our solution that we're calling open bidding, so you're gonna have much less SDKs. Ideally, in the future, the vision is that you'll just have one SDK for all the related networks that you want. And it's easier to maintain, right? And you have a unified auction where everyone is bidding. And then the really cool thing on the Google side as well is that we are taking care of all the payments for you. So you get one payment from Google that includes all the revenue that you're gonna make with the third parties. So we're making everything really much more seamless and easier for you. So with that in mind, these are some of the partners that are already live, and there's a few more coming pretty soon. I know a lot of people might be asking, like, when are the big networks coming into open bidding? So that can't be announced yet, but as you can imagine, everyone in the industry wants to be part of the real-time bidding solution that everyone is trying to build. So it's kind of a race of who gets there first. So with that in mind, we've talked about basically the 4 formats that we have, the newest updates to them. And then we talked a bit about AdMob as a platform, what's new on the platform. And if you have any questions, I can take them now, or if you catch me around outside, if you want to talk about something apart from monetization, I'm happy to talk about that too. Thank you.
Hi. I have a question. When do you have a plan to release this unified auction to the public? I mean, this year, next year?
It's a good question. I mean, for me, I want it tomorrow. So for now, it's in closed beta, meaning the developers and publishers that have direct account management and technical support, just because of the complexity of it, you need really to make sure that it works really well. Because from the Google side, we don't really want to launch something in the public that might be breaking. So we want to make sure that everybody is having a really positive and happy experience. So now it's in closed beta, and estimate by next year we should have something out for the general public. In Google, we have a joke, a lot of features that we build take 2 weeks. And then the year later, we're still saying that it's 2 weeks. Yeah. Next year, without the 2 weeks one.
We will wait. So what trends do you see next in the field of monetization for games? Like some trends?
So trends, I mean, as I'm into VR and AR, I think that kind of spectrum, particularly augmented reality ads. Mm-hmm. So ads that might take a shape of, I don't know, you're in the game and then suddenly you see an ad of a makeup brand that you want to try the makeup of, and then you can use your camera to try the makeup, for example. So the one trend is basically on the feature side, we want to see new kind of innovative features for ads. And as I'm really passionate about that space, I think that is one that we'd like to be part of, and we see already some experiments from other companies as well trying to do that. Snapchat is trying to do a lot of things in that space. But I think, yeah, the more immersive the experience it is, the better from a user side, publisher from the revenue, and the advertiser from the conversion side.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Understandable. Thanks a lot for this interesting speech.